Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about our next winter storm, particularly for the northwestern United States and through the Midwest and maybe even the northeastern United States, but for sure, the Northwest and the Midwest. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends and family if they live in the impacted regions. Let's get right into things. So first things first, we're going to look at our simulated radar here. We're going to use the RGEM model, which is my all-time favorite model. I've probably said that about 100 times in the past couple months, but it really is just the best model around. And actually, believe it or not, our low pressure system here is going to start off of the coast of Canada, and you can see it's going to bring snow to the western coast there of Canada, pretty heavy snow and potent snow. Obviously, if you live in the western United States or western Canada, you know these storms tend to be very, very potent. And that's going to be by this evening, which is Friday, February 7th. Let's move forward to about, this is probably going to be by about 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. tonight, on Friday, February 7th, like I said before. And our low pressure system will be located pretty much over Vancouver Island. It's going to be a 999 millibar low pressure system. All right, let's move forward. And this is going to be by Saturday, February 8th, kind of, I would say around 11 a.m. or maybe 12 p.m. on February 8th. And we're going to see that low pressure system pretty much transfer into a clipper system. As you can see, that elongated area of light to moderate snow there from areas in kind of the west central Canada regions, southwest central Canada regions, that is, and then in through Montana. And you can see our low pressure system is located right there in the middle of Montana. Now, as we move forward, we're going to actually expand that view to the entire western United States, and then we're going to kind of move up into the Midwest, where we're going to start to see this storm really begin to intensify, actually. All right, now on this frame, this is going to be, I would say this is by about 4 p.m. on Saturday, February 8th, and we can see that low pressure system kind of transfers even further south down there for Wyoming, Colorado, and Nebraska. And it still has that elongated area of light to moderate snow, like I said before, in Montana, northern Wyoming, as well as in through South Dakota and North Dakota, but especially South Dakota there, experiencing moderate snow throughout some of the heavier bands in this winter storm. This one actually could be pretty potent for a clipper system. I've looked at the snowfall totals. We're going to look at those at the end of this video on the models, but it actually looks to bring a lot more snow than we typically see with a clipper system, so that's pretty exciting. And like I said, that's about 4 p.m. Let's move towards about 10 or 11 p.m. here, and you can see most of the snowfall now is for a little bit of Montana left over, but mostly South Dakota and in through Minnesota and northern Iowa there, and we have some low pressure pretty much throughout Kansas and Nebraska to the south of this system. Now, we're about to move on where we're going to take a zoomed-in look at the Midwestern United States, because obviously that's where most of our snowfall is located by this point. So we're going to take a more zoomed-in look so we can get a better view of what we're looking at here with this next upcoming winter storm. And I would say this is probably by about 4 or 5 a.m. on Sunday, February 9th here. And you can see we have some pretty moderate to heavy snow there for South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota. Keep in mind, a lot of models had it a little bit further north than what the Canadian models are showing right now. The Canadian models have the furthest south solution out of any of the models here. And really, we're going to take a look at some multiple models here. We're going to take a look at what the GFS is showing, the Canadian model, and the European model as well. Let's move forward a frame, and this is going to be by about, I would say, maybe 6 a.m. here, and we can see that moderate to heavy snow is really cut down for South Dakota, Nebraska, and North Dakota. We still have some snow showers, but for the most part, most of our snow is located in the southern half of Minnesota there, and then the northern half of Iowa and in through Wisconsin. But again, if we take that more northern solution like some of the other models are showing, then mostly looking at a Minnesota and Wisconsin storm. But the Canadian models kind of have a lineup that shows more of Iowa getting involved, southern Wisconsin, and northern Illinois a little bit as well, which is kind of unique across the board of all the other models. Now let's move on again, and this is going to be by about 12 p.m. on Sunday, February 9th, and we can see that we're getting some snowfall for Chicago by this point, in through portions of northern Iowa still and southern Minnesota, but Wisconsin has pretty much been taken over by that moderate snow, especially the southern portions along the coast for Milwaukee, and then up north maybe towards Green Bay as well. The Upper Peninsula, we still aren't really seeing too much snow. This one might really deep dive down to our south and not really get down or up to us. But it really just depends on what model solution plays out. This is the GFS model we just switched to, which is a little bit further north than the Canadian model. Now we're about to move on and go ahead and take a look at what's going to happen there for Michigan. We're going to get that Upper Peninsula a little bit involved and maybe even northern Ohio, and then we'll even take a look at the northeastern United States and what potential impacts this could mean for the beginning of next week. All right, and as you can see, for Minnesota and Iowa, it's pretty much died down, and then Chicago maybe even switching back to rain. This is different on some different models, but definitely the GFS has minimal snowfall for Chicago and northern Illinois as a whole, I guess. But Wisconsin, the Wisconsin-Illinois line seems like the rain-snow line, basically, according to the GFS. The Upper Peninsula, at least the southern half there along the coast, we are seeing some moderate snowfall, so expect some accumulation there, no matter what the model is. And then even there for southern Michigan, we definitely are seeing snowfall throughout. Maybe southwestern Michigan kind of mixing over with rain, but besides that, definitely some snow. And Ohio, we're getting some snow to start. Here's what the Canadian model showed on the same hour, and you can see it's quite a click further south there. Again, the northern peninsula is still getting some snowfall. It's really just spread down where Chicago's still getting snow, and even well south of Chicago. Northern Indiana getting moderate snow, Detroit getting moderate snow, and then even the northern 2/3 of Ohio getting moderate snow. So, I mean, big difference here for only 72 hours out on two different models. Definitely not going to be making a snowfall forecast yet just because of how different these models are right now. Let's go ahead and move forward on the GFS. We're going to take a whole eastern view here, and this is going to be by, I would say, 8 a.m. Eastern time on Monday, February 10th. And we can see it's wrapping up for Michigan there, and we have a lot of rain moving in for Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. So you start out as snow, but really just, you could tell the cold is not available at all. But maybe upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and a bit of Maine going to get some snow out of this one. So let's go ahead and take a look. At this point, they're receiving snow showers to maybe even some moderate snow. But definitely as we move forward, it gets a little bit warmer. The very far northern and mountainous regions of those four states still getting snowfall by that afternoon, February 10th. And here's the GEM model. So here's the big difference. The GEM model has it a bit further south. I mean, areas of the Berkshires getting snow, northern Pennsylvania, pretty much a ton of New York, even Albany and Syracuse, areas like that. So huge difference. Snow pretty close to the coast there on Maine as well. So the Canadian all across the board for this storm is further south. We're going to have to take a look as we move forward at just which of these models is going to end up being correct. We will definitely have a much better idea once this storm moves on shore to Canada, as they will be able to obviously tell where the low pressure system is and where the winds are going to take it. Now, we're about to take a look at our total snowfall on some of these models, which is going to be very, very exciting to take a look at. We're going to be able to tell you guys inch for inch how much snow you could expect for your area. Now we're going to take a look at some different models, but first off, here's the GFS model for the northwestern United States, and obviously for this area, usually with the elevation differences, it looks like a toddler pretty much just threw a bunch of finger paint onto a canvas, so it's kind of hard to tell for me to talk about every single little area, but you could take a look at the map, and when you're in the purples or blues, that's where you're at about a dusting to 6 inches. In the pinks, you're at 6 to 12 inches, and in the greens, you're at 12 to 24 inches, and those kind of deepish blue, kind of navy blue gray colors in there. I see some of those for Washington State and Idaho. That's where you're at 24 inches plus. So just keep that in mind. That's our kind of color table. Let's move into the Midwestern United States, and we can see some of those pinks and purples throughout South Dakota, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and in through Wisconsin as well. Chicago only getting about a dusting, and then the southern peninsula of Michigan getting a general 1 to 3 inches of snow there on the GFS model. Let's take a look at that GEM model, and you can see it's quite a bit further south, and we see much more snow for Chicago, maybe even 3 or 4 inches of snow there. Same story for northern Indiana, and a ton of Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. So obviously there's a much different outlook. 4 or 5 inches of snow for Detroit. So definitely a huge difference here. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens as we move forward. And then here's your European ensemble model. Also, this is probably our most reliable model we have. And in the blues, that's where you're looking at 2 to 6 inches of snow. And you can see we hardly get out of 6 inches in the Midwestern United States. And that's what the European ensemble model is going with. That's probably a safe bet at this point to go with this model in general. So you can take a look. There's some numbers on the screen. Southern Minnesota looking at maybe 3 to 6 inches of snow. Same story for northern Iowa. And then pretty much across central Wisconsin, same story. 3 or 4 or 5 inches of snow falling. And then Michigan, it's a general, I would say 2 to 4 inches of snow, 4 being kind of scattered in there. Chicago getting 1 or 2 inches of snow, so definitely a little bit more than some previous models. And this is probably a very safe bet. So if you want a forecast right now, this is probably the closest thing you'll get just looking at the European ensemble model. It's been very consistent this year, so you can take a look at your area. We are going to probably have some future updates on this storm, including a direct weather snowfall forecast, so be on the lookout for that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends and family, and I will see you guys in the next video.